It looks like we're on air. How's
Are
everybody?
we on there? Oh, looks like you got a window in your face.
A window?
Yeah, you got window right in your face there. Is there windows in yet, or is it just holes waiting for windows?
It's big windows, big windows.
Oh shit! I didn't mute it after all.
Oh, you didn't mute it out. How's everyone? Lorenas, Hans, Debbie, welcome. Good to see you join us today.
So I think last time you were talking about you were going to be getting dried in on some stuff, right?
I was getting what?
Dried in. Well, we call it dried in here.
What's
The
that?
idea that yeah, your holes in the building are getting closed.
Yeah. So that's all happened now. Now we're looking good. I'm in the last. Hey Ken and Gary, well, we're in the last stages now. I've got this baby arriving in 2 months' time. So
Yeah, ready or not.
yep, yeah, got to get ready, and it's quite good. I've just had because I've not been working for some time now, 6 months or so, and but it looks like the work is starting to roll back in pretty quickly. So
yeah, I think I don't know. It's interesting that I guess last week our president got the virus.
yeah,
Which is kind of interesting.
he's cured now though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that I don't know if the whole thing is getting weaker or what's going on, but it definitely seems definitely here in the U.S. were it not for that, it doesn't seem as though it's slowing things down like it was before. I think when it first launched and it was first out there was just too many unknowns. And now I guess it's been around long enough that people are feeling, maybe like they know it better.
Yeah,
Probably, maybe they think they know it better than they do.
yeah.
But they're starting to, like you say, kind of come out of the woodworks with new stuff.
Well, I think it was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom was saying that this is the new normal. That this until I think they find a solid cure or anything, I think everybody living with the environment that we're in is fact. I was talking to my wife and we were discussing, back in March, our country went into full lockdown, what was called level 4 lockdown, which was you had to stay at home, period.
Yeah.
The only reason you're allowed to leave your property was pretty much like once a week to get, food supplies. That's it. Or go to a doctor. That was it. Otherwise, you couldn't go to work. That all businesses in the country closed down. Nothing was operating, so post, courier, all reduced right down. So, and we were saying in hindsight, yes, it was a smart thing to do, but I can't see our country ever doing that again.
Yeah.
Ever going that extreme again.
No, I mean, when you look at the hit that companies that took, I mean, our lockdown wasn't anywhere near that extreme, but it took a huge hit. The economy, everything, jobs, everything took a huge hit as a result.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can't live like that. You can't sustain that. This planet and us people were not made to sustain that.
Yeah.
So, there's no way it was going to last, even if nothing subsided. I think people would just decide, I'm ready to take a chance, which I think is what a lot of people did. Is, you know what? I can see the statistics. Most of the people that are dying are older and have problems. Granted, not all, but most of them seems to be in that. And I'm not in that group, so I'll take a chance. I'll take the risk.
No, it's interesting. I see a few other people join us. Danny, how are you? Newly awarded MVP, Danny. There.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Alison, of course, last month she's joined us. She got awarded her MVP. Exciting times. It's funny, I run my MVP podcast every week. And right now, my shows are scheduled out to the end of January next year.
Jeez.
I've got newly minted MVPs contacting me and going, hey, when do I get my chance on the show? And I'm like, mate, my schedule is
it's like a rite of passage, right?
Yeah. So I'll get to everybody, hopefully. Phil, how are you?
If you haven't, I'm sorry, even if you're an MVP, if you haven't been on Mark's podcast, you're not shit yet.
Crazy. You know, like the podcast is now getting close to 150,000 downloads.
Very popular stuff.
Not bad, eh? Not bad. I'm
Not
pretty happy
bad.
with that.
Not bad.
I put this T-shirt on this morning, you know, PowerApps Nights, which of course is run up in Scotland. And of course, this logo now is a classic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
The collector's edition.
Yeah,
Now, the
I
new
kind
logo.
of like the new logo. That one never made much sense to me anyway.
You like the new one, which is really just this insert, and you know, the middle bit, isn't it?
No, it's stacked up squares, right? Or is that the whole platform?
No, no. I'm talking about PowerApps. Is just, oh, how do we go that way there? It's just this internal piece. As in the new logo it doesn't have this big circle around it and stuff anymore.
All right, so there's a logo right now out there.
The stacked one?
The stacked one.
That's the Power Platform logo. Well, has it? Well, sorry, just in case anybody's, we better use iconography. It's not
Icon. Yes, it's an icon. It's not a logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks about the beard. My wife is, man, she's constantly onto me, Meg. Gotta get that thing shaved, like, and I'm like, oh, we just haven't been near a barber. So
is she over it?
She feels it's a bit, you know, cavemanish, a bit
yeah.
There's a lot of it there, and we'll just keep seeing how we go. I mean, I'll trim it a bit, make it a bit longer.
Yeah, they need to get a motorcycle is all.
Mate, talking about motorcycles, I was surprised to see that you've landed your 2500cc Triumph. You've got it already.
I did. It was supposed to take a month, and they found one at a dealer nearby. So yes, I went from 500cc Honda to 2500cc Triumph, on a bike that goes 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. Pretty much terrified since I got it on Saturday.
That must be a fair bit of weight, as in
it's about 650 pounds, so it's a little bigger. You know, I'm not a tall guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wear a 30-inch inseam pants.
Yep.
And so when I sit on this bike, I can't flat foot. I'm literally, you know, tiptoed when I'm sitting at a traffic light on this bike. So actually the first day I got it, this Saturday, I went out to a local little bar and restaurant on the waterfront where I go hang out, and I've been there many times on my other bike. I pulled into a spot like I normally do, not even thinking about the slight downhill of the parking spot that I pulled into. It didn't occur to me until the moment I pulled in that, oh shit, this might be a little more work to get out of here than my other one, but for now I'm going to go have some beers, get something to eat. Which I did. And so a couple hours later, I come back out. Of course, the bar's packed. You know, people all over the place. They're all looking at this bike, of course, because it's this crazy looking motorcycle.
Yeah.
I go walking out there and I get on it and stand up, and I'm on my tippy toes and I'm trying to push this thing back out of the parking space, and it's just having none of it. I mean, it's just not wanting to move hardly at all. And I finally get it to just barely start moving, and then my left foot hits a little patch of grease in the parking spot or oil stain, and it went right up from under me, and the bike goes down right on top of my leg. So of course now I'm pinned under this motorcycle that is literally hours old.
Wow, so you were over on your side type thing underneath it.
Yeah, it went right. I mean, it almost felt like slow motion as the thing goes over. And then now, of course, I'm pinned under it. And fortunately, some guy happened to be walking by and said, "Hey, can I give you a hand?" I said, "Yeah, get the fucking bike off of me." So he helped me lift it up, and I got him to help me push it out of the parking spot. And then I casually fired it up and got out of there as quick as I could. So needless to say, I don't know that I'll be visiting that place for a while. I've got my ego got a little bruised on that one.
Yeah.
Not my leg, but my ego got a little bruised on that one. And I broke a mirror on the thing, literally within hours of buying it.
So you damaged your bike within hours of buying it?
Within hours, yes, within hours. Already ordering replacement parts, so not a good start. But I'll get used to it. I got used to the last one. I was 40 years off of motorcycles when I got the last one. It was only a few months ago. I
Yeah.
got back into it. And I remember being a little intimidated with that one because just it had been so long.
It was only 500 cc's though, compared to this 2,500 cc's.
It was, and I got to where I was tossing that thing around like a bicycle, so I got real comfortable. But yeah, then I got moved. Yeah, well, I when I got that first bike, I thought, I'll probably ride this for a year or two, and then I'll move. Well, I rode it for a couple of months, and I'm like, okay, got it, next. And I thought, I don't want to do like a next bike up and then have to do it again. So I said, I'm just going to skip all the way to the ultimate one that I want to get. So I skipped a bunch of steps there, but
yeah, Allison feels it. She's obviously been in that position. Matt, yeah, you're on the money.
yeah, so I feel better now, and
good.
yeah, I mean, once the thing goes down, now it's you actually feel a little more comfortable that you're, now I'm not worried about scratching it or something, or anything like that. So, oh well. So that's enough bike talk. I don't want to bore all of our power up. What the hell we call the show again? Power Up Live. Yeah. Power Up Live folks.
You know what? On the next show, you need to bring a photo of you on that beast. You need to get somebody to just throw your phone over to them, get a photo of you.
Picture of me on my tippy toes on my motorcycle.
I want to see that. I want to see that. Well,
I look like an 8-year-old.
It's been 2 weeks since we caught up because I had a baby's appointment to go to last week, and now there's a couple of things happen. Of course, Microsoft had their global outage, which was, I don't know, went for some hours.
Yeah.
Which they've talked about in their post-mortem. Was something to do with Active Directory, and particularly, I just put a link in there if you're, more around the post-mortem, but, they've got the stats of, Europe 80% had 81% success. They're putting the numbers in a very positive light. 81% success of getting access. America 17%. Wow. So the America's really dropped.
Yeah.
72, Australia 37. And
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And so I was looking at, I figured it out. I mean, I was literally in the middle of doing a solution publish when that happened, and I thought it was taking a very long time.
Yeah.
And that ended up being the reason why. So, I jumped out of Twitter and, then I understood what was going on. But one of the things I didn't really notice on Twitter was Amazon or Google or anybody like that trying to jump on and point.
No, nobody can these days, right? Nobody.
These are glass houses.
Yeah.
When was the last time it went down? Once earlier in the year, but I think that's only what, twice this year that it has actually had any sort of a significant outage, right?
And here's the thing: it's significant in that everybody sees it because everybody's on it. If this was the server in your company, right? Let's say back in the day of Exchange server and stuff running in house.
Sure.
If that went down, somebody would just say, "Oh yeah, the IT guys are working on it." Nobody would give a fuck, right? It's just like, this is part and parcel of IT, and it could be knocked out for a day or two, and but because it's a global impact now, all these people in there, it's not that I think, the incidents are very infrequent. It's just now when they do happen, they're massively amplified.
Well, and I think that, I'm sure that there are way fewer incidences than there is with anyone's on-premise system. And, from a customer standpoint, good news is if it does go down, you don't have to fix it.
Yeah.
Which if it's your on-premise system, you do. But to your point, this is now a global platform that people are running mission critical, life critical, things on. I saw something which I think ended up to be a hoax about 911. I don't know what
bollocks. Yeah,
services going down, which they've got redundancies, and I would think any of those kind of services would have not redundancies to Microsoft. If they're using Azure, they've got a redundancy to Amazon.
Yeah,
they got redundancies across different providers. But it is definitely something that, Microsoft has a pretty huge responsibility.
Yeah.
The after action report or whatever that they produce, I don't think we're going to get the name of the guy who screwed this up. But this was a software.
if he was following protocol or she was following protocol, I don't think they'd have any comeback if there was,
Well, how do you think protocols are created?
yeah,
They're created from fuck ups and they're adjusted from fuck ups. So I'm
yeah,
sure as a result of this, there will be yet another adjustment to the protocol.
yeah,
So I don't know. Maybe they didn't follow protocol. Maybe they did. Now they discovered a new gap in the protocol. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I,
it
I
is.
mean,
It is.
they are very robust. I remember when I was in Seattle going into one of these control rooms where in this control room within Microsoft, it was all the Dynamics and Power Platform deployments globally was in this. So it was like a segment out of I assume, the Azure control rooms that they would have. And
Yeah.
this was a control room that was monitored 24/7. It, just had a bank of, across the whole front wall, and everyone was kind of terraced up in front of it with all kind of like, the control center of a NASA launch,
Yeah.
or a SpaceX launch these days. What you saw there was their protocols for how they access the system and everything, and the dual people needing to be involved in everything are so tight. Like,
Oh yeah,
nobody's
I
just
mean,
in
you
there
just can't
to do
have
it.
some cowboy out there messing around, I mean, and taking
Yeah.
things down. I thought that I had remembered from way back when, because I remember selling this as part of the pitch for
Mm-mm.
Office 365 at the time, back when we actually used to sell that, was this idea that your data is replicated locally
Yep.
as well as in another geographic region at a
Yep. Four,
different data
four
center.
copies, right? Four. Sorry,
I
I
had
think
heard
total
I
of
had heard
five.
it was five,
Yeah, five.
and geo redundancy.
Yeah.
So I guess that's backup. I guess that's not the same as failover
Yeah. So,
because
so this issue was an authentication issue, right, with Active Directory. So it wasn't about people's data or issue coming into being a problem. It was around Active Directory, as I understand it.
yeah, but they still have to push that out by region,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah,
you
but
would,
I think the little bit difference is that the way Azure works, it is a global Active Directory. So yes, it might be regionalized, but it's still a global list. So, and this became clear to me when I did work in China for Microsoft, is that China is not part of that global Active Directory.
yeah.
Like, they are totally separated. So their Active Directory in China is a separated behind the what's called the Chinese firewall. So it can't authenticate. That's why things like AppSource in China don't work, because you need Active Directory or AAD to authenticate against that. So you can't just push stuff out into China like
So
you
then,
can.
why do you suppose the percentage of down in US versus other regions was so different? If it's a kind of a global thing, there must be something.
So was it the time of day for one, as in, so because they
For
were
the,
saying the percentage of access failures or correct access, I assume would be different based on how many people would be smacking it at any time.
well, and certainly in the US, it was about 5 p.m. Eastern time, which
Yep.
would have put it at about 2 p.m. Pacific. So
Yeah.
you're talking about the work afternoon was still going on
Yeah.
across most of the US.
Yeah.
So that probably could have impacted the high, first of all, biggest market, and second of
Yeah.
all, prime time of day.
Which surprises me, right? You'd think they would roll that stuff off hours, right? I thought the whole idea of rolling, you roll when you've got your lowest number of folks on the network. So the
Yeah, which
impact,
you would think would be the middle of the night US time, where the biggest number of users are.
yeah.
All right, Debbie wants us to change the subject.
Yeah. Okay, get off that AD stuff.
Either her or Frank. So a couple of other things that occurred. We were talking about the Gardner study that their magic quadrant that recently launched again on low code solutions, and yeah, a couple of observations I think you and I both had made. One, it seemed like two of the three negatives they gave for Power Platform were related to licensing.
Yeah.
and its complexity, which certainly ought to be a ringer to Microsoft. But the
Yeah.
other thing that I think you had noticed was it doesn't look like Microsoft moved since the year before, but
No.
some of the other folks have.
So can you see that on my screen now?
Yeah, yeah.
This is the current one. As you can see, Ryan posted this on October the 5th, so a couple of days ago. You got Microsoft here, you got Salesforce, OutSystem, Mendex, ServiceNow, and Appian. And then if we have a look at last time's one, actually, I should try and put them side by side.
Yeah, let's see how skilled you are doing that.
Yeah, let's see. So we're just, this one's an image on my desktop because I had to go find it. But there, stay large, crap, stupid thing.
You had to zoom.
There must be a zoom here somewhere.
There it is.
What's this one?
No.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
There it is. Okay, there we go. So there you go. So you can see Microsoft is it's actually dropped down a bit from this. This was in 2019, July 2019, as opposed to September 2020. You can see Microsoft has actually dropped down slightly here.
Yeah.
Index seems to have gone a bit further out. OutSystems is still out in front. Salesforce is still north of us. Appian has jumped. You know, they've come well into the mix. So, you know, when
and ServiceNow finally got in there.
Yeah. I'm like, is Microsoft not being perceived? Obviously, these other people are working on their technologies, marketing their technologies, etc. But is Microsoft not being seen as making those kind of large, you know, leadership steps, stability, or, you know, because Microsoft seems pretty static in this story. Now, of course, if you read Ryan's article, it's all exciting and be better. But of course, anybody would promote their own product that way. But if you look at these things side by side, it's
I don't think Ryan is mentioning anything about last year versus this year. But,
no.
but you know, I think you and I have both commented for a while now that they don't seem to really be launching a ton of new big things.
Yeah.
I think that we know Charles had said, you know, to us a while back that you know, this is the time for us to make everything we have work better.
Yep.
Which is a worthy goal. It's extremely important, and to the degree they've been working on that, I hope. You know, they got what, 7,000 or 8,000 people on the team now. They're doing something, but clearly, so I don't know if this is so much Microsoft was kind of stagnant in their growth, or if these other companies, you know, made some investment that got recognized while Microsoft was kind of cleaning up their house.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to say.
One thing I'll say about these type of things, you know, I remember years ago with Sun Microsystems, and I was at a big event with them. I was their main training partner for all of New Zealand, or sorry, their only training partner for New Zealand. And all these analysts were along at this big, you know, hoo-ha and everything, and they were all being given stuff left, right, and center. And then I realized the whole analyst scene is based on who pays the most amount of money, right? That they come across as looking independent, but there is a lot of upside to schmoozing with the analysts to get the outcomes.
You know, so I know that
wondering, you know, everybody's schmoozing. Is it genuine, or like, because at the end of the day, I would much rather go, hang on, how much money are we getting in our bank account? How much are we selling? That's where the rubber hits the road. But where I've used these type of charts, of course, is selling.
Yeah.
Right? When I go into a company and that company goes, listen, we've looked at the Gartner, we've basically looked at their leadership quadrant, and you guys are all on their list, or the short list of contenders. Tell us why you're better than them. And I tell you what, Pega, in my experience, you know, I've lost big deals to Pega. When Pega were, because Pega, although they're in this magic quadrant, of course, they're in the customer service magic quadrant and sales quadrant now, as you know, CRMs, if you like, as well. And I tell you what, it influences customers.
You know, I think there's a couple different aspects, right? I mean, most of I think Gardner, Forrester, these people also can be hired. And I know Forrester has been hired several times by Microsoft to perform an analysis of PowerApps opportunity for enterprise, and supposedly an unbiased, but it's in that case it's Microsoft paying these companies to come up with a white paper that is an objective white paper.
Yeah.
But they would like to have this white paper, and I guess Microsoft kind of takes their chances on the outcome. But these are not inexpensive, and I guess they have to feel confident that the outcome is going to be pretty favorable, or maybe if it isn't, they just don't promote it. Maybe it's part of the deal. If I'm going to give you $100,000 to do a study, if I don't like the results, it ain't going out.
Yeah.
You could be as objective if you want to be, but if I don't like the results, I'm not going to use it, and you can't use it either, even if I had to pay for it. But they kind of, like you say, they walk this line of being objective, yet they're also hired by these companies. I know frequently Alyssa Taylor has been on calls with the analysts.
Yep.
I know when I've tried, talking to her other times, that it seems like she's on calls with analysts a lot. That's part of her job. And I'm sure Salesforce, I'm sure everybody in that Magic Quadrant has people on the phone with analysts. And the analysts are asking, these analysts they don't know any of these platforms like we know, say, Dynamics, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to depend on people like Alyssa or whoever to help us fill in the blanks and flesh out what's good, what's bad, what's otherwise, and give us some things that we can go prove out with, customer, third party, whatever. But it's essentially you're going to the source of the application for the facts you need to assess the performance and the value of that application.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's that it's a bunch of lies and horse shit, but I could tell you my dad used to refer to it as a little bit of puffery.
Yeah.
Which was just this it's not like untrue, but might be slightly exaggerated.
Yeah.
And you maybe slightly downplay some negatives and don't, so I'm sure there's an art to that whole dance. There's an art to that whole dance. But, a lot of people look at these studies and these quadrants and make decisions.
Massively.
Decisions.
That's what I'm saying. It's definitely affected my ability to sell into certain accounts at certain sizes where they came, as in the customer came to the table with, here's what Gartner is saying, Forrester. I see Microsoft often, Nucleus Research is another one. Microsoft often get a very favorable reviews in, and sometimes more in Forrester. And it's course, these are the analysts that they're all, keeping sweet, giving contracts to. I had a
this drives not just the decision of companies to possibly buy the product. This drives the stock market. And other things that have bigger reaching things than actually a customer buying your product is having your stock price go up as a result of favorable analyst reviews.
I don't know how much that affects Microsoft in that respect. Heck, I've been 16 years now. 16 years, I think. 2003 is when I started with Dynamics CRM, and over that time when Salesforce wasn't on my radar at the start because Salesforce wasn't a big deal outside of the US for quite some time. But from the point of Salesforce coming on my radar, they have always seemed to be ahead of us in all analysts' minds.
Yeah. Well, I think Salesforce was a sales-based organization. Microsoft has been an engineering-based organization, and in a sales, it's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. In a sales scenario, whether that's talking to analysts or talking to customers, Salesforce was always able to sell circles around whoever was representing Microsoft. Whether it was Microsoft sellers themselves, who were never as good as Salesforce sellers, or worse, Microsoft partners who didn't stand a chance against Salesforce partners. Salesforce, for a decent sized deal, they send out their direct sales team. Microsoft obviously does more of that now than they used to, but they used to depend on for that.
No. Salesforce are very smart in that they used to sell a deal and then they would go to a partner of theirs and go, you're going to implement it for this much money because that's what I've sold it at. And so very much, I remember, who was the guy that set up AppSource that came across? He died of cancer, I think.
Ron Huddleston.
Ron Huddleston, right? When Ron came across, I had breakfast with him in, I don't even remember what city it was now in the US. I think it was in Canada. It was at a conference and I had breakfast with him and he was like, I can't get over this. You as a partner go and sell Dynamics directly to a customer. He was like, don't you find that weird? And I'm like, mate, that's all I've ever known. He was like, I think Microsoft should do the selling to the customer and partners should just be implementers. They shouldn't be selling it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that was totally, and because he'd come straight from Salesforce, he'd implemented App Exchange, right? And at Salesforce, it was his brainchild. So it was a totally different mindset and go-to-market strategy that they had.
It caught us, when we were with Salesforce for 10 years before we moved to, so we were on the opposite side of where you were. We didn't know any other way.
Yeah.
And when we switched over to Microsoft and Microsoft starts talking about, so now, you go sell our product. I was kind of the other side of the fence. I'm like, what? How's that work? What do you mean? Why do I have to sell your product? Don't you guys know how to sell it? Don't you have a sales team, a sales force? I mean, so it's been an interesting shift, I think, as Microsoft has invested, because they've always had sales, right? They've always had inside sales, but they've invested much more heavily in that. And I think Salesforce is probably part of the reason, because you take a Microsoft partner, even if they were heavy into enterprise and heavy into Dynamics, Salesforce still knew more about Dynamics than that partner knew about Salesforce.
Yeah.
And when you're out there in sales, it's more important to understand your competition almost than it is to understand yourself.
Yeah. So true.
So what are we looking at here? You're showing us.
So Dynamics Weekly 149, Guido Pereira, the MVP, been doing this newsletter. I found it very helpful. And of course, he's saying that's the last issue. It is. He's saying goodbye, and this is the last one. And, I always, I've been a subscriber for some time, so I was surprised to see that come through. I'll
tell you what, he also started that PCF.gallery as a pet project.
Yeah, that's his.
And I think that, you can only have so many pet projects, right? Yeah. And then you got to get some work done. So this just could be that he's had to make a decision about which is going to remain his pet project, because, you get too many of those, you don't have a life.
Well, that's the thing is that, and as well as curating news, right? Which is what his newsletter was a curation of everything going on in the community. Heck of amount of work to do, right? You've got to, if you're deciding whether something's going to make it in your list, you're going to have to consume that content.
Yep.
And then, put a little, blurb in there, screenshot, blah, 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 and put it out there. So,
I mean, it's just like the massive amount of preparation that you and I do for each one of these shows.
Yeah. The hours, right? That we
basically get together 5 minutes before and haven't talked all week and say, what do you want to talk about? I say, I don't know, we'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah.
He can't really do that with this format. He can't do that.
Well, the thing is, right, you and I were getting together once a week for a year prior to this, and this is just a flow over of us. Why didn't we take our conversation public? And so, but sad to see that passing with him. I think he did a massive job, and I liked that his content was never paid placement.
Yeah.
There's no advertising in it. He wasn't making money off it. He was doing it for, the enjoyment of it. But I think
maybe if he was, he'd still be doing it.
What'd you say?
Maybe if he was, he'd still be doing it.
Yeah, well, I don't know, Isn't it, the end of the day, if you lose your passion for something, no matter how much money somebody pays you, you've lost your passion for it, right?
Well, I think some of these guys out there start things like that, which is perfectly fine,
Yeah,
as part of their MVP, either becoming one as contribution or
yeah,
renewing one. And which is a perfectly valid thing to do. I mean, you become a voice that people listen to, and you've got a tool here that you're using, like that newsletter, as one of those things.
yeah,
But after a while, depending on how many of these different things you get into, as an MVP, if your primary motivation was this is to support my MVP
mm,
status or acquire it, at some point, maybe you decide, I think I got enough. I don't need all of these things.
yeah,
So you start kind of cutting back on, there's a point where you've got clearly enough stuff going on
yeah.
that your renewal is not really at risk. And at that point, maybe you start thinking, you know what, I'm going to drop off a couple of these things and that one's got, like you said, it's got to have been a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally, totally.
I mean, he's just, I mean, he's showcasing maybe half a dozen articles, but he read probably
Exactly.
30 posts at least out there to
Exactly.
find these. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of effort that
Yeah.
no freaking way I would ever do it.
I see
So,
lately you've been getting a bit vocal around Microsoft and even Charles Lamana specifically talking about the low code platform, Power Platform, as just like Excel, just like PowerPoint. Anybody can do it. And now the impact is starting to hit home in the market where customers are going, well, why can't we do it? And they might have a complex system in place.
we talked about that. It takes a while. We've said this before. It takes a while for Microsoft messaging to get out
Yeah,
out there.
about
I
two
mean,
years.
we all hear it fairly early because we're in the bubble, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
they talk about Power Platform, low code, no code, citizen. But we heard those terms for a while now, but there's still customers out there today that are hearing them for the
Brand new.
first time. But
Yep.
eventually, that message kind of works its way out farther into the customer space. So when it first, popped up, of course, a lot of us were like, ah, great, here we go, customer, citizen developer. Uh, and I remember thinking at the time, and even writing about at the time, that there's a lot of apps, right? Some little thing that somebody's doing an Excel spreadsheet that they want to pop and create a little Canvas app or something like that to replace some little check-in, check-out thing for laptops. Or something. Knock yourself out. You
Mm-mm.
don't. There's a whole bunch of apps that could be built that would solve problems that you would never pay a partner to do.
Yeah.
There's a whole strata of that it makes perfect sense for citizens to go out there and solve all those problems. You don't need a partner to solve those problems. If you did, you wouldn't solve the problem. You'd continue using a spreadsheet and struggling.
Yeah.
It was a very worthy goal to come up with this idea and this concept for those people to do it. Where I'm starting to see the unintended consequence is this idea that, and we just saw Charles at launch talking again about, you can build applications. It's just like PowerPoint and Excel.
Mm-mm.
And without caveating that little simple application that do simple things, we got people out there now suddenly thinking they're empowered to do more than they're frankly capable of.
Yeah.
And it's starting to pop up in our customer scenarios where we've got large scale deployments, big complex deployments that have been, there's 5 years of custom development that's gone on as this thing has been evolving and morphing, and it's a massive deployment. And suddenly we got them thinking, oh, we can take it from here.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't gotten to the extreme of we can take it from here, but they are definitely starting to look at the list of things for the next tranche of work that what they want to do, and thinking, you know what, our team could probably handle these, and starting to slide things off of our plate and onto theirs.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't like seeing that happen because that's how we make a living, right? We bill customers for expertise that they don't have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's disappointing when they don't appreciate the expertise or minimize it and think they can do it themselves. But that's partly because I got Microsoft in the other ear saying, hey, you don't need a partner to do this stuff. You can do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we're at that slippery slope now where we've got customers thinking, we've got one in particular that part of the scope of work, we were going to utilize flow for a component of this, but this was not going to be a simple flow. This was going to be a complex series of flows doing lots of different things. It was a credit a notification process. It was letting customers know, hey, your credit card is expired or going to expire, putting them on a cycle, taking them off the cycle. There was lots of different things going on in that flow to make sure that it was doing what it was supposed to and not pissing off customers who'd taken care of the problem. And there was a lot of stuff going on in that. And the customer had run out of some hours and was looking at having to get some more hours from us to continue on that, and made the decision, we could probably figure that out. We've been making a couple of flows here.
Yeah.
Well, this is, first of all, it's not a simple flow. It's a complex flow even for our team. And second of all, this flow wasn't like connected to just some little database doing some little thing. This was engaged as part of this great big thing that we built.
Yeah.
It was a component of that, but it's still tied to the whole common data service the whole thing's sitting on. And they were asking me, are you concerned that we could break something? And I said, you can absolutely break something. You can absolutely. I mean, it's like they seem to have this feeling that Flow or PowerApps were like somehow isolated and they could do whatever they want over there.
Yeah.
And without any, and what's the worst that could happen? Well, worst could happen, you take the whole fucking thing down. How's that for worst that could happen? You're gonna be connecting into this common data service that the entire organization is running on and fucking around.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can absolutely take the whole thing down. So I'm figuring out a post in my head to write about this because I'm due for a post, and this one's starting to really bother. And I'm seeing a slippery slope here. I'm seeing a slippery slope.
But I was saying before, and Andrew, I did see that post around the UK running, and they ran out of rows or columns, was it, in Excel, and so they had to use 2 Excel spreadsheets to do the track and tracing because they're doing it all in Excel. Someone suggested that there should be a feature inside Excel that says, hey, you need to go to a Power App if you want to go beyond the limitation of Excel there. But, in what you're saying, as I say, Microsoft seems to be, there's a 2-year cycle of when they start messaging, we get it early because we're in the bubble, as you say, and then 2 years on, I feel it starts really hitting the market, and the market starts going, hang on,
which is about where we are.
Right. So you write that post now, right? It's still going to be 2 years before, does anything change? Does anything change from it?
Well, I think to your point, we're at the beginning of that. I mean, we're starting to see some customers that are maybe even a little bit more plugged in than your average that are now starting to come up with these thoughts in their mind that I can I can take over this Power App development with your D365. We got a guy over here who's been reading some of the Microsoft blogs.
Yeah.
And we made a flow here that sent me a reminder when I get an email from Bob. So I think I've mastered flow.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna see if we can. I mean, on the one hand, I've actually given up with some of these folks saying, look, just let us do it because you're going to make more problems. That pay us more. Now I just tell them, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
They always end up having to come back. I mean, they don't figure it out. The thing what bothers me even more, however, is when they get themselves waist deep in shit they don't understand, and they still don't want to give up. Instead, what they want is for me or someone on my team to explain to them from the sides of the quicksand how they swim out of it. And part of me is like, you fucking drown.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have done this in the first place. I told you not to do it. You're fucking around in space. You shouldn't have been. But it's Microsoft's telling them, hey, nowhere, it's not quicksand. It's fine. And I just think there's definitely a slippery slope there, and we're starting to see people slide down that slope.
As it Debbie say, fix it for free.
Well, it's not quite that bad, but they're looking for advice and they may be paying me for advice, but
Yeah.
I'm advising them essentially how to get out of the quicksand. But that's going to empower them even more to think they really know now everything because they got two pieces of advice from me, and now
Yeah.
they're a supreme expert.
Yeah.
So it almost can make the problem worse. I frankly, I'm at a conundrum right now of exactly how to handle the new request now is we don't want you to build it for us necessarily. We want you to shadow us.
Yeah.
And if you see us heading towards the cliff, nudge us away. And obviously, the thought process from the customer behind that isn't, gee, I want to learn PowerApps because it's fun. It's, I think I can eliminate the cost of a partner.
Yep.
Okay, so on the one hand, are you kind of prostituting yourself by taking on an assignment that is going to teach them how to eliminate the need of a partner by showing them or letting them know when they're about to go off the cliff. I'm struggling with the concept right now
Yeah.
and how best to address that scenario. But we're seeing it more where people are like, yeah, we don't want you to do it. We just want you to show us how.
Yeah. Like Prashant saying there that the client goes, yeah, we watched your videos and now we built the apps. And all of a sudden realizing, oh my gosh, are you giving away work now, even by, educating the market? I mean, I understand it's Microsoft's job to educate the market, but when partners are doing it at losing business directly,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, like I said, when this stuff first popped, the idea that a customer, somebody who is a little tech savvy, could go and replace an Excel spreadsheet, do a laptop check-in, check-out, knock yourself out. That's not something you would ever hire me to do. That's not anything where I add any value anyway. But I've got a customer, and we've talked about this customer before, that has a high six-figure monthly loss occurring as a result of a problem.
Yeah.
That we were going to solve with PowerApps. This problem is related to this credit issue.
Yep.
A massive amount of expired credit cards and not turning off services. And I mean, they're losing money. And obviously a big company, but still losing huge amounts of money every month. First of all, it took them forever to approve budget to even build the application to solve this problem, which was absurd. You're looking at, I mean, you're gushing blood out here, and you're negotiating the price of a Band-Aid. So, I mean, that was the first part. And then we finally get underway, and they've taken so long on their side of things to do things. And I'm just, it's boggling my mind, all the money every month, boom, just going out the door. At this point, millions of dollars have frittered away while this project has, just kind of been dragged by them. And then they're the ones who here at the last minute, because they've used up the time, said, yeah, we think we'll take a stab at figuring out these flows. And I'm thinking, well, there's another, I mean, you're not talking about the cost to pay us to do it. I mean, it's like they're oblivious to the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're going to lose next month while they're fucking around. Trying to fix it themselves. It's just amazing to me. I don't understand.
Nuts.
I don't understand. Oh, well.
Just another thing that I've noticed a bit more lately, around, I know we've discussed events quite a bit in the past, and I just put in there in the chat, the Scottish Summit 2021. I'm wondering if this event, which of course is totally community driven, is now becoming the standard for Europe for conference. They're going virtual this time. They did the last in-person event in Europe just before everything started to lock down, at the start of this year. I attended the first one, which was last year. I was a speaker at it. And
it was massive, right?
This is a crazy thing. This one this year, I really like some of the way they're thinking around this. Is that one of the things is that they are trying to encourage brand new speakers rather than just the old tried and true that are, run around the traps. And they've put together a speaking program, so a training program to help people get up to speed with it. I think Microsoft are looking at it very seriously now as one of their big European events.
You know what it is?
To get
Those
behind.
those Scots, they marketed this brilliantly because they came out with an event out of thin air and declared from day one, this will be the biggest goddamn event on a fucking planet.
Yeah.
From day one.
Yeah.
You know, without anything at all. They came out firing and said, this thing is going to be huge. And they made lots of noise, got lots of people, the biggest event, 2,000 speakers or something, whatever kind of crazy number, just throwing out crazy, crazy numbers. And the irony is that it drew so much attention to what they were trying to do that it ended up coming true. You know, but it all started out of thin air. I mean, they weren't talking about this being the biggest event after it already looked like it was going to be.
Yeah.
They started talking about that before anybody had heard anything about it. The first thing you heard about this event, the very first time you ever heard anything about this event, you heard it was going to be the biggest fucking event on the planet.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, brilliant. You got to give it to those guys.
It is an amazing event. You know, Mark Christie, Ian Connolly, and of course they got a now host of support people that are involved. And I see so many of the folks that have got involved are making massive contributions to the community. I take my hat off to the guys, you know, really well done. They started in a market where they said, you know, they couldn't even run a user group up there because not enough people would attend. And of course, history shows that they've blown that away. So if you're listening and you think that you might be interested in speaking at something like that, they cover such a broad range of topics. Check it out. Get involved. I think it would be well worth it. Another thing that I don't know, I have used a product called If Then Then That. Have you used it at all?
Yeah.
And they've been free, right, forever. Well, they've just gone to a paid model.
Weren't they free to a degree? They had a pro version, I think.
Well, I thought the pro version only existed if you were like a big app, you know, a big app supplier wanting to connect to their platform.
I remember I played around with it a little, like probably lots of people. I had it doing a couple things, and so it was one of those things I forgot about for a year until all of a sudden something kept happening. I couldn't figure out why.
Yeah.
And it frankly took me like a month to finally trace down. It was this if this then that account that I never closed and never turned off this, whatever the hell they call it, Zaps, or no, that's Zapier. But
no, that's Zapier. So the thing is,
whatever it was,
with it is that I got an email from them that said you've got 12 apps running, right? You've got 12 apps under the free plan. I think you could have 3, but if you want to have unlimited forever, you need to go to a pro plan, but you get to choose the price of the pro plan.
I just saw that email come in. Yeah, something about pick your price.
Last month.
Yeah, I just saw it here. I noticed it this morning, this email. I think I already deleted it because I wasn't using it anymore, but something about a name your price. Yeah. How's that work?
So I worked out what the lowest it could go to, which is I think $1.99 a month. And if you lock it in at that, that's what you pay from now till you cancel your account.
So I get the brazenness of the marketing approach.
One of them was $9.99. How many people hit that? And then bang, I'll pay $9.99.
Yeah, I mean, are you trying to get people to use their conscience to purchase, to support you, or I don't know. That might work with nonprofit donations. Do you want to donate $1 or $5 maybe, but I don't know that it works with a for-profit business model. Maybe I should try it with Rapid Start. Hey, it's either free or you can pay us something.
Yeah. You choose. It starts at $1,000 a month.
The price you'd like to pay, or it's free. You make the choice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just thought, interesting marketing model. I mean, I use it, and I use Zapier as well. I use both those tools, because Zapier is a lot more, how would you say, professional, robust. Yeah. Much more sophisticated in what you can do. But, you know, I do this one too, you know, shoot me the weather forecast off my weather station, which I've just installed outside, you know, a few things like that. I'm going to connect it into, you know, it'll turn my watering system on, etc.
Yeah.
So stuff that's not mission critical, but nice to have.
Yeah,
And
I'm gonna build one that reminds me to back my motorcycle into parking spaces.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think you need to worry about that. That ain't happening again.
No, I don't think that's gonna happen again. Yes.
Yeah. I tell you what, one other thing that I realized, we're in the month of October, so I better start doing something about it. And I just put the link there, and there's the 90-day mentoring challenge that I do each year.
Yeah.
And for me, it seems like a long time ago that I did the last one, which was actually January, February, March this year. So just before lockdown and everything happened, I finished that 90-day mentoring challenge. 100 people went through it this year. I quite like seeing every time new MVPs come through, seeing if they've been through my 90-day mentoring challenge.
Yeah, sure.
And I think I'm sitting at around, I don't know, between 10 and 15 at the moment. That
Got to be a feel good there, right? They went through a program.
Feel good. I wouldn't say they did it because they did the 90-day mentoring challenge. No. That would be wrong. But that's the fact, right? That's the case.
It is the only reason.
No, do you know what? Someone's going to cut this,
but it is the only reason.
And they're going to send the MVP program and go, Mark said it again. He's saying, yeah. But anyhow, so, you know, people are starting to sign up. I will be kicking it off come January again. I'll do January, February, March. I think that worked quite well. I find people are on the cusp of going with their careers in January. You know, what am I doing? Where am I going? And what's next? And what's interesting?
I got to lose some weight.
Yeah. Is lately, so many people that have been hitting, you know, registering their interest are being people that are brand new to the Power Platform. Like they're still in another job. They've heard enough about the Power Platform to go, do you know what? Perhaps I should be looking at a career in this space. You know,
actually, for the past several months, probably would have been a lot of interest because, you know, there's people working from home that weren't working from home before, as people out of work.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, eventually I'm sure it will just become a prerequisite to even, you know, apply or get nominated for the MVP program, is that you have to have gone through this mentoring program or you're immediately denied.
Nah, not that. I am.
No, but anybody who's thinking about it, they probably shouldn't take a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't take the chance. You know, you never know.
But what I was saying there, I'm on my 3-month cycle of, you know, I've got that many testimonial videos I've got to chop up and start releasing out there on Twitter and whatnot.
When do you start onboarding?
Oh, so I'm taking expressive interest now.
Yeah.
And then I will, what will I do? I will look at kicking it off in January, as I say. That'll be my start. Yeah.
But you normally cut off a little bit before that, right?
Oh yeah. I cut off before Christmas. You know, I'm locked and loaded by then. There's a link to that weather station of mine, Andrew. So you can see. You click on that. That's actually my transmitter right now.
Oh, how's the weather?
Well, I don't know if it converts it to Fahrenheit on your side. If you click on that link, it's in Celsius for me.
I'll click on it and see what it does.
See if it gives it to you in Fahrenheit.
It does.
There you go.
That's a little cool over there. 60 degrees.
It's just spring we're in at the moment.
Yeah, it's what we would call crisp.
Yeah.
Here in Florida, this is crisp weather.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, in Florida, we would call that cold.
Well, Steve, it's been good talking to you again.
Yes, we've wrapped up. I'm off to a bike night because I'm a biker now.
Nice. Thanks for everyone for joining us. Remember, you can hit us up on any of the links during the week. Anything you want us to discuss, bring up on air. Happy to do that. Thanks again.